Hello everyone, I'm glad to introduce this paper today. I'm Guy Park from New Mexico State University. If you have any questions, come up with any questions or suggestions about our paper, there's my contact information at the end, so feel free to give us an email. I'm gonna start by giving you some background information and some of the alarming facts behind the mental health field, which were the key motivation of our paper. So the pandemic has been definitely one of the red buttons in the mental health care industry. It's given us some horrible numbers like 40% increase in anxiety and depression symptoms. And according to a Korean data, the number hits 65%, and the majority didn't even get any proper support from experts or friends and family. The numbers themselves are bad, but cost concerns, social awkwardness, and lack of education are stopping people from receiving timely interventions and basically go ask for help. Labor shortage is another important concern. We just don't have enough practitioners in the field, and remaining ones are becoming one of the victims of mental health problems themselves. Obviously, their pay skyrocketed, but we are still far behind having the right number to meet the demand. So the application of AI media agents coming to attention, along with the introduction of recent AI chatbots such as WeBot, which exchanges over 2 million messages per week to provide mental health education and quite often emotional support as well. And the number is, it's past data, so the number should be higher than that now. So a lot of people are using that data, and AI agents received much attention and coverage in different areas. Listed it here in the figures, especially from technology, computing, management perspectives, but we see that there is still much need to examine the intangible factors such as user psychology and perception, and that's where we began our paper. Let me move on to the current study. This study built its basis on the view of the computers are social actors paradigm, which assumes that people treat humans, non-humans, as social actors and apply social norms and responses while having an interaction with non-humans like computers and chatbots. We also borrowed from the theory of anthropomorphism that perceived human-like characteristics in non-human lead to positive interaction outcomes. Previous studies also point out that in uncertain situations, like when conversing with strangers, people rely heavily on intuitive evaluation of the source, like visual cues, which lead to positive evaluations and enhanced compliance. Based on these major theories presented here, first hypothesis proposed that human representation of chatbots will increase intention to comply with chatbot-generated health recommendations. So we also attempted to explore the connecting dots between human representation and compliance intentions. And based on the construal level theory and the extent theories, we propose that the mediating role of psychological distance from chatbots. Visual cues can affect psychological distance or similarity, and that psychological closeness and similar perceptions can lead to positive evaluation, positive choices, and compliance intentions. We therefore propose that psychological distance mediates the relationship between human representation and compliance intention. Trust is another mediator we propose. It's the key to the successful interaction, especially in the context of mental health counseling. Based on uncertainty reduction theory and fork theory, we assume that in uncertain situations like initial counseling meetings with your non-human agents, intuitive information like visual cues will significantly affect trust toward the conversational partner, your conversational partner. Therefore, we proposed hypothesis 3, the mediating role of trust. We also propose a serial mediation of both mediators as in the model shown on the page here. We found several studies support such relationship that close psychological distance, closeness, or in-group perception increase source credibility and trust towards a conversational partner and derive more positive interaction outcomes. We believe these previous studies help connect the dots between these 4 variables, and thus we propose this serial mediation model. Methods. So to test the proposed hypothesis, we conducted an online survey. Our final sample size was 385 Americans who were recruited through Amazon MTurk. They first signed a consent form after reading about the nature of our study. They were then directed to a new page to have a short conversation with our chatbot agent and interacted with it using button type options. We'll come back to these options in the following section. The counseling consisted of a general Q&A section and mental health recommendation, and then participants were redirected to the questionnaire page to complete the survey. The content and the materials were developed together with the authors and a certified mental health counselor. If you can see here on the right, participants interacted with AI chatbot with either the human face or robot face. To avoid any complication during the conversation other than intended, we restricted the response types as button-only option so that we had more control over the interaction range. So people click on the button type options to respond to our questions and had a little for the short conversation. On the left side, you may see the flow of the conversation from start through welcoming phase, first interaction phase with mental health Q&As. For example, we asked how many times during the past week have you felt depressed or lost interest in things you liked doing before. Then there was small talk about common mental health issues and interaction 2 here where the chatbots gave more information about mental health and then gave mental health recommendations. Even though the basic flow was pre-shaped, the natural language processing platform that we employed allowed us to enable two-way interaction using the reach response option in the system, where we can plant those preset response options and the AI agent produces output based on different user input. So it was a two-way communication using those buttons. And so the statistical analysis, we conducted independent samples t-test and to examine the effect of human representation on compliance intention. That was our first hypothesis. For hypothesis 2 through 4, we employed process macro model 6 and tested the independent and serial mediation effects. As you can see from table 1, all 4 variables were significantly and positively related. If you move on to the model here, the results show that people who communicated with the chatbot with human representation reported higher compliance. The first line here, intentions, than those who interacted with the chatbots with machine-like representation, supporting hypothesis 1. And for hypothesis 2, the first small circle here, the human representation was positively associated with psychological distance, in turn was positively associated with compliance intention, indicating the indirect effect was significant. Hence, the mediating role of psychological distance was supported. We can continue on this table here. The result showed that human representation was positively linked to trust, which in turn was positively related to compliance, representing that the second indirect effect was also significant. So the impact of human representation on compliance was mediated by trust. Finally, the findings showed the human representation was positively associated with psychological distance, which was positively associated with trust. Again, the trust was positively linked to compliance intentions in the serial manner. This shows us that when the participants communicated with the chatbot counselor with human representation, human face on it, they felt psychologically closer to it, which led to more trust and eventually higher compliance intention, supporting our hypothesis 4. We believe our findings contribute to adding explanation on through what path human-likeness travels to interaction outcomes. So it adds to the why behind the effect, especially in the context of mental health communication. We believe the context matters too, because there are conflicting results out there under different contexts, such as general chatbots or problem-solving focused service chatbots employed by businesses. There should be more studies explore deeper to find more related variables to help draw a map of human chatbot interaction in different contexts. And despite our implications, we regret that we did not consider our human cues, humanness cues, such as other humanness cues, such as identity cues or conversational cues. We suggest future studies to explore independent and interaction effects between humanness cues and different interaction outcomes. Another possible future study areas is the expectancy violation caused by human-like chatbots. We didn't find any effects in this study, but in other contexts, higher humanness sometimes may cause unnecessary amount of expectation, which may lead to disappointment or dissatisfaction of users. Finally, considering the gender, age, and ethnicity and other demographic variables of not only the users but also the chatbots could be interesting, and the mental health status of users may also be another interesting future direction. Well, I think it's about everything I would like to share today. Thank you for showing interest in our paper. And again, if you have any questions, suggestions, here's my simple email address. Well, thanks again. Happy conference.